Okay. So they have come out and they've said Andy Cohen is not leaving Bravo despite legal trouble, says the network. There's absolutely no truth to it. So now that we know the background of Andy saying, I will only leave if I'm pushed out, now that we have what the core accusations are against him, now that we have this leaked from sources saying that he's in negotiations to leave because of these accusations, because of the legal trouble, let's get into what the network is now saying about these rumors. So this is according to People magazine. It says speculation over Andy Cohen's future at Bravo comes as he faces a discrimination lawsuit from former Real Housewives of New York star Leah McSweeney, which he denied. Okay, so before we dive in, I'm just going to say this, you guys. When it comes to the lawsuits, to be honest with you, Leah McSweeney's and Brandi Glanville's, I personally think are just money grabs for them. I don't really think they have a leg to stand on. I think Brandi was doing Brandi. I don't think she felt any type of way. I think Leah realized that she was basically no longer being booked by Bravo and she's looking for a check. That's where I land on it. Now, do I think that Andy Cohen has acted inappropriately? Do I think that he is, up to the challenge to still be the position he has at Bravo? I don't think he's still up for the challenge. I wouldn't mind some freshness. I do think he probably has been inappropriate. He does seem to have favorites. That's just my opinion. But with that being said, I think two things can be true. I do think that Andy can be inappropriate and maybe his time has come to depart the network in the current role that he has. But I also think that Leah McSweeney and Brandi Glanville are just doing money grabs and they are exploiting being a quote victim, which in my opinion is disgusting and is very disrespectful to true victims out there who really do deal with this stuff on the day-to-day, who have no recourse, who don't have the means to get help, who have to show up at a job and everything. Leah's like, I make more money on Fans Only than I do on The Real Housewives. Well, then why are you doing this? Go do Fans Only and make your money. Like, girl, bye. So that's kind of where I land on that. Okay, so this is according to People magazine. Andy Cohen has no plans to leave Bravo. Amid speculation, the Watch What Happens Live host and Real Housewives executive producer was negotiating an exit package after 2 decades. A Bravo spokesman confirms to People that Cohen 55 will remain at the network. There is absolutely no truth to this story. It is obviously made up by a source who is not credible, the spokesperson says. Now, don't forget, Kelly Dodd and her husband, Rick Leventhal, predicted this, that behind the scenes, Andy Cohen was negotiating an exit package from Bravo after all the allegations came out, because if they continue the legal process, there will be an investigation. And if there is an investigation and it turns out that these accusations are true, it's not a good look for anybody involved. So they're quietly trying to get Andy Cohen to leave. Now, I'll tell you what I think is really going on after we do this article, and then I want to know what you guys think. The television personality told People at BravoCon 2023 in November that he wasn't looking to exit Bravo anytime soon. Next year is my 20th year at Bravo, he shared at the time. Next year is our 15th year of Watch What Happens Live. I'll stay at Bravo as long as Bravo wants me. As I once said to a very long-running housewife, being on TV is a gift. It is not a right, he added. And as so you know, we're all fortunate to be on TV for however long we are. The rumors of Cohen's departure come 7 weeks after former Real Housewives of New York City star Leah McSweeney sued the longtime host. In the lawsuit filed in the Southern District of New York, which was also obtained by People, Leah claimed the Real Housewives executive producer and Bravo facilitated a, quote, rotted workplace culture where employees were pressured to consume alcohol. Leah, please shut up. You are a 41-year-old woman. You consume alcohol when you want to consume alcohol. Nobody forced you to do it. There are a lot of people at Bravo, reality stars, who don't drink. For example, Kandi Burruss, she was the longest running, one of the highest paid housewives ever, and she does not drink. So get off it, Leah. McSweeney also accused Cohen of engaging in nose candy, skiing with the slopes, some little nose candy, some white powder used with housewives and other Bravo celebrities that he employs, and providing favorable treatment and edits to those he allegedly used the substance with. Now, when it comes to that accusation, again, this is all alleged, opinion based. To be honest with you, I don't believe all of this. Do I believe Andy parties with his favorites and his friends who may or may not be reality stars? Yeah, of course. By party, I'm not saying he does this. Don't come at me for any legal stuff. I'm not saying this. By party, I just mean hang out with. So does he hang out with his friends and his favorites? 100%. Do I think that he gives a favorable edit to the people he parties with? No, because Andy Cohen actually does not have the power to edit the storylines. The only power that Andy has when it comes to framing a narrative around the Real Housewives is the questions that he asks at the reunion. And those are two separate things. The production company and the producers are the editors of the show. Andy Cohen doesn't even have the power anymore to cast housewives. He doesn't have that power to hire or fire anymore. He lost that, I think, in 2013. So this isn't true. So just because he parties with housewives, he does not actually have the control to give them an edit. Where he does have control is at the reunion, how he treats them, and on Watch What Happens Live, and then whatever he says about them in public. But he actually does not have the power to give them a certain edit on the show. That's what the editors and the producers do. That's their job. Okay? So she's getting it wrong there. According to The Hollywood Reporter, a source denied the allegations that Cohen does nose candy with any housewives, calling it outrageous. But don't forget that Kathy Griffin also accused Andy Cohen of offering her some nose candy, some, white powder right before they were going to do an episode of Watch What Happens Live. So unfortunately for Andy, this is not the first person to make this very specific allegation against him. I believe Nene also accused him of this as well. I could be wrong on that. I know she called him a racist and all this other stuff. I believe she also accused him of substance abuse as well. So this is coming from multiple people. Now, whether or not him partying with certain people is ethical or not on your own time with your boss, I don't know. Do I think it had anything to do with their specific edits on the show? No, again, because Andy doesn't have that control. He doesn't. And plus, he's an executive producer. He's not a boots on the ground editor. He only has control at the reunion, Watch What Happens Live, and whatever narrative he puts out publicly, but not actually what we see on the show. And also the way that we know that is Andy Cohen himself is surprised by the show. Like you can tell, he's like, oh, I just binged the show and I didn't see this coming and all this stuff. Like he's surprised himself about what's happening on the show. And to be honest with you, half the time, it seems like he hasn't even watched the shows. So there's no way that he is pulling the strings for these people's edits and narratives on the show if he's not even watching the show. You know what I mean? So there is more nuance to that. The outlet also reported that a source close to the franchise's production alleged that McSweeney was in talks about being cast on Roni Legacy, but ultimately was not chosen for the ensemble, given her short tenure on the series. The production source told the Hollywood Reporter if she was cast in Legacy like she wanted, this wouldn't be happening. I agree with that 100%. I think that if Leah McSweeney had been cast in Legacy, she would not be suing. To me, she's like a Nene. She's suing because it's Mad Day, because she didn't get cast, because she didn't get what she wanted, and she now wants to sue because she's mad. And again, like I said, that does a disservice to people who are truly victims of workplace harassment, sexual harassment, assault and all that stuff. Because when these people who have money and fame and privilege, because no matter how you slice it, being on a reality TV show, being a household name, having some source of money, from Bravo or from whatever you're getting it from because they have a platform, that is inherently privilege. because the average person out here does not have the means and the connections and the money and the platform to get justice for themselves and their loved ones when they're actually put in these very horrific, toxic workplaces. But these people who have so much access and money and privilege want to exploit that because it's Mad Day and they didn't get what they wanted. And that to me is disgusting. So do I think Andy Cohen is innocent in everything? No. But do I think that Leah McSweeney and Nene and Brandy and Rachel Leviss, let's throw her in that mix too, are suing because it's Mad Day? I do. Okay. More than a week after McSweeney filed a lawsuit against Cohen, the executive producer's attorney, Oren Snyder, said the filing is littered with false, offensive, and defamatory statements in a letter sent to McSweeney, which was obtained by People. Snyder called virtually every allegation made by the Bravo star categorically false and threatened further legal action if she did not immediately retract and withdraw claims about Cohen's nose candy white snow use. If you refuse to do so, Mr. Cohen reserves the right to hold you and your client accountable to the fullest extent of the law, the letter stated. To be clear, these allegations are categorically false. Mr. Cohen never used nose candy with any cast member on any Real Housewives show or with any other Bravo employee. The allegations were obviously made up by you and or your client to achieve maximum tabloid clickbait value in the hopes of weaponizing these false allegations along with other lies that permeate the complaint as leverage to force an unjustified settlement, the letter continued. It will not. Instead, this conduct only subjects you and your client to independent and substantial legal exposure. Boom. In February, Cohen apologized to Brandi Glanville after she accused him of sexual harassment. In a letter sent to NBC Universal, Bravo's parent company, Warner Brothers, and production company Shed Media on Thursday by Glanville's attorneys, Brian J. Friedman and Mark Gregarios, the former Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star claimed Cohen sent her an inappropriate recording back in 2022. Again, remember this. Remember that a core issue that Andy Cohen is having is being sexually inappropriate with the talent of Bravo NBC. That is a core issue, okay? Remember that because it's going to play a big part in what I believe to be is Bravo to NBC's final straw with Mr. Andy Cohen. In a video sent by Mr. Cohen to Ms. Glanville in 2022, Mr. Cohen, appearing obviously inebriated, boasted of his intention to sleep with another Bravo star that night while thinking of her and invited her to watch via FaceTime, read the letter, which was filed in Los Angeles and obtained by People. In response to the allegation, Cohen issued an apology on Twitter, the video saying, quote, "The video shows Kate Chastain and I very clearly joking to Brandi. It was absolutely meant in jest, and Brandi's response clearly communicated she was in on the joke. That said, it was totally inappropriate and I apologize," Cohen wrote. A Bravo rep had no comment at the time, but a source who saw the video told People the clip was comedic in nature. No one in their right mind would think that anything Andy was saying in that video was meant to be taken seriously, said the interviewer. It was very clear that everyone was in on the joke. Okay. But that is the problem. Okay? Yes, it was obviously a joke, and I do think Brandi Glanville is grasping at straws. She's throwing spaghetti on the wall, seeing as what's going to stick, again, because it's Mad Day, and she wants retribution and she wants some money. However, the optics are still not good. Anytime you have a person in a position of power, which would be Andy, and someone who works beneath him, which would be Brandi, doing any type of joke or jest or whatever you want to call it in a sexually inappropriate way, I personally would feel very uncomfortable if I had a boss and he said, "Candy, I want to have sex with your coworker and I want you to watch us having sex via FaceTime. Just kidding. Ha ha ha. Like, I get it would be a joke, but it's still inappropriate and it's still very uncomfortable. Do I think Brandy was actually offended? Hell no. She probably was laughing in on the joke. She probably wanted to join, whatever the case may be. But again, it gave her leverage. It gave her evidence. It gave her something to go against Andy. So remember that, okay? Remember that. Because now I'm going to get into what I think is really going on. So there has been this blind item from Dumas on Reveal Ma saying company man sent packing, kind of. A late night host so closely linked to his network that he includes their name in all of his social media handles is in talks to move into a new, read, heavily reduced role. His nightly show will continue through its contract, but the network doesn't want to keep paying him a giant salary for his light touch feedback and, in name only, producer contributions to their popular shows. So this is allegedly Andy Cohen. And I believe this because, number one, let's break it down. BravoCon 2024 has been canceled, right? It's canceled. Why would they cancel Bravo this year when Bravo last year in Vegas was huge? They made a crap ton of money. It was booked and busy, blah, blah, blah. Why would they cancel BravoCon unless they're still sorting out all of the legal issues? They want that to be done. And also they're figuring out what to do with Andy because the block is too hot right now. There are too many legal lawsuits, allegations out there. The block is just too hot for them to have BravoCon. And then I also think they're figuring out what to do with Andy. I also think that legally with, their publicist coming out and denying the claims that he's leaving. Now, I think that they're telling the truth, but they're telling the truth in a very slick way because you always have to be mindful about what people say. I believe this blind item because I said this before. I said, I don't think that Bravo and NBC need to fire Andy. I just think that they need to let him have Watch What Happens Live, and he needs to let go of his having his hand in the Real Housewives honeypot. So I believe this blind item. And I also believe what the publicist is saying from Bravo and NBC because it's very coded. He's not leaving the network. Right. He's going to keep Watch What Happens Live. And if he keeps Watch What Happens Live, therefore he's not leaving the networks. But that doesn't mean that he's not in negotiations to heavily reduce his role and reduce his quote unquote power and probably reduce his salary at the networks. Right? So, and I said this before, let him have Watch What Happens Live. But he doesn't need to be a producer by name because he doesn't really do anything for the housewives. He doesn't edit the shows. He doesn't control their narratives. He can't hire or fire them anymore. He's not a head of casting, even though people think he is. They'll be on Watch What Happens Live. Andy, bring me back. And I'm like, Andy doesn't have the power to bring you back. He doesn't cast anymore. He stopped casting in 2013. Google it. It'll pop up. 2013 is when he lost all his power because he switched over to being more of a talent. And so the person who's leaking this to people, they're right, but they're saying it in a way that also, and this is what I think is the biggest reason, still gives NBC and Bravo and the production legal cover. Because if they cut ties with Andy right now, it wouldn't look good for the lawsuits. It would look like an admission of guilt. It would look like an admission of liability. Like there's all these allegations against Andy. They found them to be true, so they terminated him. So everybody who's suing Bravo and NBC and the production companies could use that against them in the court. Like, look, they fired him after he's had all these allegations. If he was innocent, why was he fired? So, of course, they're going to come out and say, this isn't true. We're standing by him. He's not leaving the network because they don't want to give any credence to the legal allegations against him. Because at the end of the day, these executives, It's a corporation. They're looking out for number one. They're looking out for their bottom line. They're looking out for themselves. They don't really care about protecting Andy. They care about protecting themselves. So they're going to do what they need to do for optics in order to strengthen their position in the lawsuits and not give the people suing them any type of additional ammunition. So of course they're going to come out and be like, no, we stand by Andy. He's not leaving. This is false. We don't know what you're talking about. Where behind the scenes, I think that they are negotiating, giving him Watch What Happens Live, and then slowly migrating him away from anything to do with Housewives and away from anything to do with anything else. Because they're trying to cover themselves. They're trying to basically get rid of them, but they also still want to give themselves legal cover. Do you know what I mean? Also, I think NBC is tired of paying Andy all of this money when, again, he doesn't really do anything. He phones it in at the reunions. There are dwindling ratings. There's mounting lawsuits and legalities against him, and NBC and Bravo. And also, there's also social media backlash. Like, think about the state of Bravo over the last 3 years. It's been a shit show. It's been dark. It's been littered with racism, sexual assaults, fraud, homophobia, transphobia, lawsuits, dwindling ratings. I think they're kind of like, what are we paying you for? And I think they're paying a lot more attention now to the more collective voice, not just Bravo talking to people who are just obsessed with Bravo and they don't think for themselves and they just regurgitate storylines and narratives being fed by them. I think they're starting to listen to the people like us who uses our minds and our brains and have opinions, and we can see through all the BS. I think the beginning of the end for Andy was when the whole situation with Diana Jenkins and Garcelle and Lisa Rinna hit Good Morning America. Once all of that, and on Good Morning America, this was like two or 3 years ago at this point, we're talking about how toxic, Bravo is and the toxicity that the housewives have and all of that stuff. I think once that happened, where it kind of hit this very mainstream, middle America, salt of the earth, media platform, I think that's when the executives started paying attention. Because don't forget, NBC Universal has dozens of networks and dozens of brands. They own E! News, they own Hayu, they own so many other platforms. Bravo to us seems so big and meaningful, but to them, it's just one of their brands. It's one of their products. So I think once it hit there, that made them pay attention, right? And so I think that was really like the beginning of the end of Andy Cohen for all of these reasons. Also, don't forget Andy Cohen being fired from the CNN gig with Anderson Cooper for being drunk and being wasted and being inappropriate. I think that was also a big strike for Andy, because don't forget, Andy represents Bravo. He represents NBC. Bravo and Andy are basically synonymous. He is the face of Bravo, for lack of a better term, right? So when he is out here being drunk and wasted and inappropriate and getting fired from platforms like CNN, he's not just representing himself, he's also representing NBC. He's also representing Bravo. That has to be very embarrassing as well. So everything that Andy does, because he has become synonymous with Bravo and they're owned by NBC, is a direct reflection on them as well. Right? So now I'm going to go into what I think. Oh, and also the reason why I think that NBC and Bravo are saying, no, he's not fired, is because they want to control the narrative. Because right now, if they don't say it's not, then we're all going to be like, oh, the allegations were true. He did all this stuff, all the legal stuff. That's why he's being fired. They want to control the narrative. So I think they're trying to phase him out of anything with Housewives, let him keep Watch What Happens Live, and settle these lawsuits however they go quietly, without getting into any more legal trouble or giving the other side any more fodder to go against them with the lawsuits, right? So I think there's that. All right. Now I'm going to tell you what I think the final straw was for NBC and Bravo. I think it was when Andy Cohen was sexually inappropriate regarding an alleged, I'll say alleged, even though they said it, and I do have the clip, an alleged male on male kiss that happened between Kyle Cook, Carl, and West Wilson and Jesse on Summer House. So I don't know if you guys watch Summer House. I do. That is the group of 4 guys who are in the house for the summer. This is Kyle and this is West. So on Watch What Happens Live, Andy Cohen got really pissed off and mad because West admitted that there was a truth or dare game and all of the guys were making out. And I have the clip so we can watch it. Now, if you guys watch the clip on the playback and it's not there, don't be mad at me. It means NBC made me take it out. So if the clip is not there and you're watching this on the replay, don't be mad at me. Don't leave me a nasty comment. It just means NBC made me take it out. But since you guys are watching live, you'll be able to see it. So that's good. But he does a very inappropriate, like he wants to see it. He yells at the producers, "Why didn't you leave that in?" And he gets really mad. And it just, to me, watching was very uncomfortable because, again, remember, the core issues legally and ethically against Andy Cohen is him being sexually inappropriate with the talent of Bravo and NBC. And I think for your boss, for lack of a better word, because that's the power dynamic that it appears, to be visibly pissed off that they did not show you making out with a same-sex coworker, for lack of a better word, because again, this is reality, but they're coworkers, did seem a little inappropriate and a little weird. Mind you, earlier that day, Andy Cohen, and I have the video and we can watch it, posted on his Instagram that he had ran into West and into Amir from Summer House Martha's Vineyard. They're drinking beers and they're laughing. They kiss Andy on the cheek. And at the very end, Wes says, "And I might pick you up tonight." And Andy's kind of like, "Oh, really?" Like, "Oh, okay." Again, why are you posting on social media? And I don't think a lot of people caught it, but I caught it. Again, why are you posting on social media your employee saying that he's going to pick you up with a sexual connotation and you kind of getting turned on by it? And you decided to post that on social media when you already have multiple lawsuits against you and your company for workplace sexual harassment and inappropriate sexual things. And the reason why I know Bravo and NBC are pissed is because they then put out this article being like, why Andy Cohen pretended to be mad at Summer House producers. 2 words: damage control. Damage control. Let's watch the clips and then I'll read the article that they're doing damage control. Because if the producers and the executives at NBC and Bravo did not feel that what he did was inappropriate, why would they then put out a fluff piece pretending like he was just pretending to be mad? No, he was mad. So let's watch.
Around the West Village, look who I run into. The 2
What's up?
kings of Bravo. Wow. Wow. This is going to be a good day. This is a good day. Y'all are just drinking the day away on Hudson Street? Is that what's happening?
Catching up.
Wow. Wow. West is making his Clubhouse debut tomorrow night. You excited?
Yes, I'm fired up. Just don't be too mean.
I'm not going to be mean.
I might pick you up.
All right.
Be careful.
I'm walking.
Now, why would you leave that in there? Like, don't you edit your videos? If I am being sued by multiple ex-employees, I would not post on social media that my employee wants to, quote, pick me up. again, he can't get off with, it was a joke, it was a jest, they were just joking. We get it, but again, still inappropriate. Now, let's watch the actual clip, and then I'll read the article of them doing damage control.
I'm like, I didn't kiss and told. So what am I supposed to do? Just sit there like a rock and not tell? People are going to ask me stuff. I told Jesse that we weren't hooking
Sometimes
up.
you just can't win.
Sahar K texted, what's the most romantic thing you've ever done for your pal Jesse Solomon?
We actually kissed at the camp out, and they didn't show.
What?
It didn't make the...
How did that not make air?
Yeah,
there was
it was
a
one
lot.
of the dares. It was like Wes and Jesse kissed,
I think
and I jumped
Carl and
into his
I
arms.
kissed, and I fell
we all
over my
kissed.
chair.
What?
Dude, all the dudes made out that night, and it didn't make the cut.
Lauren Escalin, can you come see me after the show, please? What the is that?
Yeah. Kyle's and
people
Carl's
what
was
they-
beautiful, too.
Really?
It was a special moment for everybody.
Wow. What type of girl do we think Jesse Solomon needs to settle down with?
Well, on paper, he wants a nice Jewish girl verbatim.
He does?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Maya O wants to know, West, how many girls or fellow Bravo celebrities slid into your DMs after you posted your takeout meal on TikTok? And who gave you the heads up that you were sitting in a revealing way? You were like showing your balls or something?
Did you see it?
I didn't get
I'll
to
show you, I'll show you after. Yeah, I was doing it like Chinese food, like little hangover.
And
lunch review.
unboxing?
And it was my dumplings, full frontal in the camera. So I was eating, and then I went back and checked my phone, and it was like it was bad.
Wait,
I took it down.
I don't get it.
But a lot. I posted an Instagram story, and I was like, I have to delete this, and all the girls were like, please don't, leave it.
Wow.
I'm still a little
my
confused,
mom
but
told me not to
you'll
do
have to show me.
He was showing his
It's bad.
balls.
It's so
Like on Instagram on purpose?
No, it was on TikTok. It was like moose knuckle is what the internet's stuck with for sure.
Yeah, the old moose.
The
knuckle.
search bar, if you open TikTok, is like West Wilson, like nuts. Like that's all it says. So sweet, yeah.
I gotta get on TikTok.
Yeah.
Wow. Mel is getting ideas for his feature, his next feature. Yes.
You we can collab.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Right,
this afterwards.
yes, yes.
Moose knuckle, summer 24.
Oh, boy. I want to thank Kyle and West and Mel. For more, click around BravoTV.com. I will see you at the reunion. We will get that hair going. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Amir.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Do you think that was appropriate? I got a bit of an ick factor talking about Wes's balls and sending it to Andy Cohen and him being pissed off that they left out the male on male kiss. And again, when we talk about male on male or same sex, it has nothing to do, it's all in love, it's all inclusive. I just wanted to give context to what was going on. Now, the reason why I think this is an issue is because, again, they took the time to plan a story on why Andy Cohen pretended to be mad at Summer House producers. I didn't think he was pretending. He named her out by name. He said the F word. He seemed pissed that he did not get to see his talent male on male making out. And again, he had no problem with Wes saying that he's going to send him a video of his balls. Yeah. So let's hear their retracting story. It says, and this is from Reality T. Andy Cohen had a bone to pick with one of the Summer House producers during a recent Watch What Happens live episode. During Wes Wilson and Kyle's Cook latest appearance, the Summer House stars revealed the most romantic thing that occurred between the guys while filming season 8. We actually kissed at the campout and they didn't show it. It didn't make the air, Wes said about his co-star and bestie, Jesse Solomon. Andy replied saying, what? How did that not make air? But it didn't stop there. Wes spilled more tea, revealing Kyle and Carl shared a steamy kiss too. In fact, it was so passionate that Kyle fell over from his chair. Yeah, we all kissed. All the dudes made out that night, and it didn't make the cut, Wes said. Later, Andy jokingly called out the producer saying, Lauren Esking, can you see me after the show, please? What the F is that? Again, I don't think he was joking. And I think it's very telling that they're going out of their way to make it seem as though Andy was joking and planting stories, kind of putting a little bit of distance between how inappropriate it was. But that's the same thing he's been in trouble with Brandi Glanville, sending joking texts about, having sex with Kate Chastain while she watches over FaceTime. It was just a joke. And then he's posting on his social media, Wes saying to him, I'm going to pick you up. Maybe I'll pick you up on, Watch What Happens Live. Again, whether they're joking or not, it's just inappropriate. And it's also just like not smart. Like if you are in legal battles for this exact reason, and not just yourself, but your parent company, NBC Universal, your actual company that you work for, Bravo, and all the other production companies, Shed Media, Universal, Truly Original, are all being sued because of the same exact thing. It might not be the best look for you to be still doing this publicly. Like, what? It's insane. It's insane. Like imagine if, a straight guy was acting that way about a girl on girl kiss. Everybody be like, oh, ew, misogyny, gross. This is so bad. You're sexualizing women. We're all equal. Love is love, whether it's gay, straight, or whatever. So it's still inappropriate for him to have that visceral reaction about not seeing his employees making out and doing sexual things. It's just too much. And then to call out that producer and then to just the F-bomb, it's like, Andy, like, don't you know the hot water you're in? So I think that was one of the biggest final straws for NBC and for Bravo, because it's like, have you not learned your lesson? But that's the thing, though. Of course he hasn't learned his lesson because he's always being protected. Not necessarily because they want to protect Andy, but because they're protecting themselves. But that cover then goes on to protect Andy. So I want to know what you guys think about this. Do you think that this really is the end of Andy Cohen? Do we believe the reports and the rumors and the blind items that he is being phased out at Bravo? I personally do believe it. I think that they will still give him Watch What Happens Live. It's a great marketing vehicle for all of their Bravo and NBC content. He kind of thrives there. It's his thing. I think that's actually the smartest move. I think that's where he makes the most sense. But I also think it's a good idea for them to phase him out of Housewives, of being, the Housewives daddy. Like, and even calling him daddy is weird and inappropriate. Being the Housewives daddy, I think it's smart to phase him out, not just because of the legal allegations against him, but because I actually think that he is no longer up for the job. He's not watching the shows. He's not actually in tune with the greater collective, what our thoughts are about the women of the show and the narratives and what's going on. He seems to only like his favorites, and he has his narratives around them. And he doesn't really seem to have his ear to the pulse of what's really going on. He doesn't know what the temperature is. I blame him for that. And I also blame his team for that, because as an executive, a lot of what he's being fed is from his assistants and from, his right hands. And I think that he is surrounded by people who drink Bravo Kool-Aid. Watch What Happens Live is completely scripted. So when people call in to Watch What Happens Live, those aren't the questions they want to ask. Those are the questions that the producers give them to ask. So even that is fake, and it's supposed to be about like asking the questions we want to know. Well, they don't really ask the questions we want to know. They ask the questions that the producers and the assistants want to ask because they have their own agenda to push, So that's even fake. So I also blame the people that he has on his team, because a leader is only as good as his team. And also the question he asked at the reunion, you can tell he's reading those questions for the first time. Someone on his team needs to say, Andy, you need to sit down. We need to brief you. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepped. Also on Watch What Happens Live, it is clear he is reading these questions for the very first time while he is in the chair on air. He doesn't know what games they're playing. He doesn't know what the questions are. Half the time he says, oh, you got it right, but it's actually wrong. He doesn't know what the hell is going on. It's an absolute free-for-all. So I think that he, as an actual talent and as an actual executive suit, is failing, regardless of the legal stuff. Because to be honest with you, I think the lawsuits are a bunch of garbage, in my personal opinion. A bunch of garbage. But from a talent standpoint, and by talent, I mean being the host, that's a talent position, you know, and then being the executive producer of the shows, he's failing. He's spread way too thin. His favoritism shows way too much, and he doesn't prepare properly for the position he holds. So I think the best thing to do is give him Watch What Happens Live, let him be better prepared for that, and let's bring in some new people to oversee Housewives, to do the reunions, to do interviews with them, to be more of an interface. Let's bring in some fresh people. And I don't want any ex-housewives in that position. Absolutely not. I don't need Bethany Frankel. I don't need any ex-housewife. Absolutely not. I want a completely neutral, objective person who is intelligent, who has their pulse on what's going on in social media, the collective consciousness, who can hold people accountable in respectful ways, who don't get flustered. Like, again, another thing about Andy, he's always yelling and screaming and telling the women to shut up at the reunion because he doesn't know how to moderate in a way that commands respect. The women just talk over him and yell. Teresa Giudice even physically pushed him. She had zero consequences for that. I wonder what would happen if a Black woman pushed Andy. What would happen if somebody from Potomac pushed Andy or somebody from Roa pushed Andy? I wonder what would happen to them. But Teresa Giudice gets to push Andy and nothing happens to her, right? So I do think that there needs to be someone who can command and who can moderate in a way that is calm and collective and doesn't let the women run them and then get flustered and is screaming and yelling and telling people to shut up. So I think there's that. So I want to know what you guys think. You know, put it down below. Is it time for Andy Cohen to hang it up? You know, do you think the rumors are true? Should they be true? And then what do you think about, and also what do you think about who should replace him? You know, if it's time for Andy Cohen to bow out, who should replace him? Who should replace him? Let me know what you guys think. Put it down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and